One of the best things Dokkan actually ended up doing in the year of 2024 was introducing Super Extreme Z Awakening. And with these Super EZAs, we're actually able to see these huge upgrades for these very old, outdated EZA characters. Their passives being made more modern so that they're usable very much so in endgame content that is currently going on from last year, but also later on in this year of 2025 and forward. So I think the introduction of this is really good, just a great idea in general, allowing us to use these characters for arguably a third time, and very much potentially they're going to be more usable than they were on release. There's some characters that you might be able to even argue were more valuable now than even when they originally EZA'd, so I think that's a pretty cool thing. Now, what we're going to be doing is just ranking all these Super Extreme Z Awakenings by how I feel like they were in the total grand scope of 2024. Now, over the course of the year, of course, we got more and more difficult events. We had different, shifts in what kind of teams you're going to be running and things like that. So we're gonna see how they all compare to each other and what they should be doing generally for these Super EZAs and moving forward. At least in my opinion, I think usually the first year that they kind of introduce something, it's always a little shaky, and they're always trying to make sure they get their exact footing down on how to handle these certain things before maybe in the second or third they're really like, yeah, okay, we got this completely down. This is how we should do these type of characters or mechanics and things like that. And then after, we're going to look ahead at some of these replies of this tweet that I made and see how the general, Twitter populace feels about this, which we can get a decent idea about even the player base overall and how they may feel about this if they play Dokkan regularly at the very bare minimum. So we're gonna hop right away. There were only 9 Super EZAs this past year. Of course, this mechanic was introduced in March, so I assume we'll have more in the year of 2025 than even last year. I mean, there is potential for a lot of very exciting ones like Physical Vegeta Blue, AGL Rose, STR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Like, some of these characters you just really start to think about, and it's like, wow, man, this is going to be a crazy year potentially for Super EZAs and Dokkan. EGO Super Vegito, STR Gogeta, right? There's so much. Okay, but let's just hop right in. Now, we're going to start off with the Super Extreme Z Awakening that first came out all the way in March, and that is the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Now, he was the first announcement, and with his announcement, we actually had his full details straight from the jump. And I think this guy, when he came out, was actually pretty good. I mean, look at this huge difference from his before EZA and then post Super EZA stats, right? Just a lot that he's doing here. Now, in terms of how he was designed overall, I feel like maybe they could have given him a little more, but I think he is doing quite a bit of everything, which I am a huge fan of, right? They gave him the built-in critical hits, they gave him built-in additionals, they gave him even support, right? If you take a look here, he does give Superclass allies 20% crit chance and Extreme Class allies 10% crit chance for 3 turns from his first turn. So multi-turn critical hit support, I think, is pretty good, especially, considering these characters, let's say they have a high chance to crit. Well, now it's basically a 70% chance. They have a 70% chance. Of course, it's now 90%, and that just makes everyone more consistent. A character that I think really benefits from that is actually the Golden Week AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. If you have this guy on the team, that guy is actually getting his guaranteed crits off for, I believe, he gets like an 80% chance to crit, if I'm not mistaken, in his kit, which is, pretty cool, right? Again, if we take a look here, yeah, 50% for 5 turns, and then he gets another 30% chance to crit somewhere right here. Perfect. So yeah, he has 80% for the first 5 turns. With this guy, for the first 3 turns, he's actually getting guaranteed crits, which really can help that guy out in early content in the event that he may miss potentially some of those critical hits, right? Now, he is, of course, a time-limited character, which does fit with, his original kit and how he is. However, in terms of aging, that could really be a problem. And on top of that, they only gave him 30% dodge after he attacks, which, as time passes on and he's not going to be, he was never like your greatest slot 1 option, but as time passes on, he only has that 30% chance to dodge in like slot 2 or 3. you know, with the raw defense that he gets is not really enough even to withstand normal sometimes. I feel like they didn't build this guy with the intention of being really good in like some of the hardest fights later on in the year, but for the time he came out, you know, the STR Gogeta fight and things like that, I think he was able to hold his own. The Cell Max fight was also very tough, so overall, I would actually give this guy an S rank rating for what he's actually able to do. He was able to do some pretty nice damage as well, just starting off the fight with his guaranteed crits. I like this guy. I think, you know, for what he was able to do overall, he definitely wasn't like a crazy character, but he was able to hold his own. I might potentially move him down to A tier. Actually, I think I'll do A tier because I don't think he necessarily stood out as like, oh, this guy is like, you know, top 10 in the game or anything like that. But he was able to hold his own for sure. And over time, again, he dwindled off a little. He's not terrible right now to run, but he's not a character you're going out of your way to really use like that, right? Now, the next character we actually got was TEQ SS3 Gotenks. Now, it's really funny because I don't really see people talk about this guy anymore because we just got the LR Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks that is also TEQ, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So getting another Gotenks that just kind of basically replaces this guy in a sense. They have the exact same name, and this guy is obviously just a better version of what this guy is doing. This character is still not necessarily terrible. You know, him and Super Saiyan 3 Goku actually do suffer from them not changing the super attack effects for these characters and only the passive skills, because no defense raise here. I mean, that defense raise could have really helped Super Saiyan 3, I think, personally. Now, the thing about this Gotenks is that he very much wants to be at 11 key, and that's the one thing. He does have the multi-turn support like these other Super EZAs have been getting. You know, his stats are pretty decent. He does need to build up, but once he starts getting some of these super attacks off, you know, his damage gets to pretty decent levels. I wouldn't say anything crazy, but he could definitely do some things. Then he can get 50% damage reduction, then a high chance to dodge just baseline, right? If you get the 11 key super attack with his chance to perform a critical hit 50%, which, you know, we'll definitely take that. He does get an 83% chance to dodge though for that 12 key, which could also be, you know, very useful in certain situations. I think the issue with this character is the inconsistency there. I think him having the damage reduction only at 11 key really does hurt a little, especially because it feels like almost reversed, where the 11 keys where you get like that's his damage super attacks, like that's where you're gonna do the most damage. Well, it's a 12 key. I guess, you know, they view that extra 33% chance to dodge as more efficient than the 50% reduction, but I think it's just sometimes you may not be able to choose, especially on his main team is pretty much Majin Buu Saga now at this point, right? I feel like you could run him on other teams, but a lot of these teams don't really have an actual leader or anything like that. Like, even though he's on so many of these teams, like Fuse Fighters doesn't have a leader, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, you're not running. Respect Fighters doesn't have a good leader right now. Getaway Sea of Conquest, you know, Youth, Final Trump Card, like a lot of these teams don't have leaders. Like Final Trump Card, we got the Gotenks recently, but like I guess Dragon for Super Saiyan 3, you could run him. It's just Buu Saga, and that team is just so overfilled with key, so this character right now is just not in a good spot, I think, because ideally you still get the 11 key super attack for the dodge and damage reduction. I honestly still would probably put him in A tier though, just because, again, on release this guy was pretty good. You know, he worked really well with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and I think just in general, the Majin Buu Saga team, a lot of these characters had over in a flash. There wasn't actually a lot of rainbow orb changing going on, so you wouldn't really struggle too much to get this Gotenks his 11 key super, I think, in my opinion. And again, even if you get the 12 key, he still had the dodge chance. I just feel like now, if you get 12 key especially, this guy will very much be a dodge or die character. And, you know, I guess dodge has a little bit less value in the current game in terms of Goku and Frieza being the toughest fight in the game. I think a lot of us do agree on that because of everything they're doing. And on top of that, you know, this guy can't dodge when he's very much reliant on that dodge if you do not get the 11 key super. But I think overall, generally, decent stats, right? Decent character for sure. from here we'll move on to Physical Kid Buu, and I think this guy is weird to me because I think he is a good character for sure, but I personally am not really a fan of him, man. I think I would use him above these two right now, but in terms of overall, I mean, I don't really go out of my way to use him. I actually don't really like his design. Again, he's providing a lot of support, 70% stats to extreme class allies is crazy good, you know, but that is also, you know, a little bit HP reliant. He does still provide the 50% stats if you're under 70% HP or less at the start of turn, and given that he's on a really good healing team, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But the main issue with this guy is that he wants to take 4 attacks as a floater character, and that's for him to get his actual defense. I have found in so many situations I just can't get this guy to receive attacks, and because of that, he just ends up, you know, dying. That's pretty much it, right? And that does suck. Now he does recover HP. I think maybe if this was a higher amount of HP, 10%, they could have made this 20% with the amount of damage this guy takes on normal sometimes, especially later on in the fight. I think 20% would suffice, right? And I do like the idea of this where it's like, okay, well, even though he may take a lot of that damage, at least he will recover some of that HP back. I think it could have been a little more. The only thing I changed about it. But I still think he's pretty good, honestly. Yeah, I should put him in A tier. I actually probably would put him above these two right now, of course, just in general. And over the year, I think his impact is still really good. You could definitely still get away with him right now, right? He is just doing so much for your teams that he's on, right? And whilst he will definitely like die to like a lot of these super attacks, if he's fully built up, he could survive some of them, right? I mean, if he gets hit with what does he like live like a super attack from 17 and Gohan Frieza if he's built up? I actually don't know. That's something that's really happened to me specifically. But with 60% reduction, and you know, he gets pretty decent stats, right? Especially with how much support is going on in the like extreme class, you know, I don't know, maybe not necessarily power absorption, but you know, Lord Slug's team with his domain up, I think is also another thing. I mean, even in power absorption, if you get the TEQ Buu's domain up, this guy's also getting mega supported. There's just a lot of support going around in that team that he's on, so I could easily see a situation where this character is actually able to you know, live some certain harder hitting super attacks, because just once he gets 60% reduction, that's quite a bit, right, that he's like just taking away from the boss. So maybe we'll test that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he'll be overall fine, right, in this current game right now. And I think one issue with this guy is, and same with the TEQ Gotenks, we got STR Kid Buu's EZA, and that guy's definitely way better. But they do also fulfill different roles. It's just that if you run STR Kid Buu in slot 2, this guy won't get leaks. So that's the only thing about it. But that's fine though. Next off, we run into Physical Goku Black, and I think this is the one EZA that I think kind of was a little bit of a fumble. And the one thing that you'll see about this character compared to the others is that they didn't actually give him any defensive mechanics. I think, is he on the same on GP and Global? I'm gonna have to go with the GP version at the very least. I forgot if there's any differences. I don't believe there is in their kit when they're post Super EZA, but again, I'm gonna go with the GP version since that's the one I used. But again, they gave him the Rainbow Orb changing, which I like, specifically when he's on a full Super Bosses team. That's an issue because Super Bosses, it's just a weird team, and I don't like, you could beat some events with this team, like even like, you know, some of the harder events in the game. It's just gonna give you more issues compared to a lot of other teams that are relevant right now. And the thing about this guy is that he doesn't have any defensive mechanics. So this guy, even by normals, like he'll take a lot because he also wants to receive attacks without having any defensive mechanics. This guy came out at a time where a lot of these bosses could be debuffed, right? You know, they go Jittafy, especially was like one of the big ones. And when the boss is debuffed, that guy actually ended up getting, where is it here? I believe the boss, he could like triple super essentially. if we take one look here at his kit, I swear he had the chance to triple super. Am I, like, not remembering correctly? Maybe I am completely misremembering, and this makes this guy worse, because he actually doesn't have the chance to get an additional super attack. I thought he did, man. I'm really crazy, but the double debuffs, like greatly debuffing the enemy, could work really well back when he originally came out. He did get this 20% crit chance every time he receives 3 attacks, which is also really strange. Like, he's being asked to get at least 5 hits, but up to 15. I don't know, and he's not a slot 1 character. I think his design was like just weird. He's doing a lot of these things, but like unlike like physical Kid Buu, I don't think he necessarily excels at it. Like, at least when this guy's built up, this guy has 60% reduction. He's providing 70% support. He's doing quite a bit, and he's not really restricted to a team. This guy is restricted to a team, and whilst he does have the orb changing, which I think is pretty nice, you know, I just don't think everything else he's doing is not enough. And that's where him missing any defensive mechanics really does hurt. And that's one thing I hope that they will continue to do. They've been doing really well with a lot of these EZAs, giving them these mechanics that allow them to survive. So Goku Black, honestly, I might just put him in C tier. I'm not really a fan. I'm not really a fan at all. Nah. I might even put AGL Super Saiyan 3B too. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like I want to respect this guy in Gotenks when they originally came out for sure. Now, STR Broly. The thing about this guy is he also got quite a bit of mechanics, and I think unlike physical Goku Black, he's kind of a Rainbow Orb Changer that I think still performs what his role wants to do well. Like, if this guy's kit was basically copy and pasted to Goku Black, except maybe this is like super bosses or a Goku family enemy, I mean, that just makes Goku Black good, right? You know, duh. I think this STR Broly, whilst he can have issues early on building up, once this guy is, like, again, built up like Kid Buu, I think he's doing really well. In fact, you know, I personally like him better than physical Kid Buu. I would definitely use him over physical Kid Buu in a lot of situations. You know, his stats are definitely not as high as I think I would personally like, but the Rainbow Orb changing is just so useful, especially on that Broly team. I think him being able to provide up to 80% support if you get the 4 Rainbow Peace Spheres, which is really nice. And he could quad super in a turn, right? Again, he does build the damage reduction with each super attack he does. And on top of that, he does get guaranteed crits. So I actually think this guy is like an S tier kind of character. I do like not favor him recently, you know, if we're doing like these like top 10 TUR tier list or anything like that. Like, maybe I feel like I've been a little too hard on him personally, and there are definitely situations he can get caught, but he's definitely in a much better spot than some of these other super EZAs right now. And I could see 100% his value where he's able to really work well, but I'm not gonna say he will destroy everything, right? It just, in comparison to these other super EZAs, he's S tier. And that's the thing, you know, if you really notice with these super EZAs, I feel like they have, like, they are good, but you need to kind of go through a couple more hoops compared to other characters. I still feel like Broly has less of an issue with that, though. I mean, yeah, he just feeds into his own kit very well, which is something I really like about that guy. It's seamlessly, right? Now, next we have the physical almost a final form full power Frieza. I actually am more of a fan of this guy than other people. He will also be S tier. I would actually probably put him above the Broly. I think this guy is slightly underrated, and you know, I think one big thing about him is that he actually already had a built-in defense in his super attack effect, which is really helpful. But they just give this guy damage reduction. I mean, they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna give him 80% reduction, right? And this guy is definitely more of a short event kind of character, of course. Now, the reason for that is because he does lose damage reduction, right? Starting from the 5th turn, which is not the worst thing ever, but in short event and longer events like Goku Frieza, you might feel that depending on, if this guy, especially in the very first turn, if he's in like slot 7, he'll be fine, I think, throughout the entire fight, especially with how like powerful these characters have been getting. I feel like there's a lot of characters I could just melt through the 17 phase, and then the 17 and Frieza phase. Even there's some characters I could just like one turn at this point. So I think that this Frieza is able to hold his own pretty well. In short events, he's also able to do just fine as well. I think in Gogeta, he could get one shot instantly. But besides that, which a lot of characters end up actually also getting one shot, even like TEQ Beerus could get one shot in that situation. Once he's able to get some of his super attacks off, he is actually perfectly fine in slot 1. Same against the Dynamo fight. I think instant super will kill him, but after that, he'll be fine. If you do put him in slot 2 or 3, he still has 50% reduction and gets all these extra stats. He could triple super on top of that if he's facing a super class enemy. He's also getting guaranteed crits. I just like this guy, right? And actually, his additional super attack just happens even if he's in slot 1. Actually, that's something I didn't even specifically see. But yeah, no, this guy's just doing a lot. I think the one thing about him is that unlike other Super EZAs, he doesn't support. But I think in retrospect of him being a slot 1 viable character, I like him quite a bit. And he has a really strong link set on top of everything else. Like, again, big bad bosses, Nightmare. I think, Universe Most Powerful and Strongest Line of Space will probably be very relevant later on in the year. I think this guy potentially could be useful there. I think if it happens in I don't know, in like August, September, this guy probably won't be that great anymore. But I mean, as of now, I like him. I do like what they're able to get him for sure. And obviously, as you can tell, as we get further on into the year, the characters get better and better. Prime Battle Goku right here, in terms of his overall design, I think that they did good with him as a free-to-play character. I do not think I could put him in higher than A tier, though. And again, these tiers aren't necessarily ordered. I don't think it really matters. I think you can kind of switch these characters around. This guy, at the end of the day, has a great chance to guard, so he can either guard or not. He's pretty nice on the Super Saiyan Trio team, though. I do like it. He, again, has guaranteed crits against extreme class enemies. There's a lot of red zones going around. We're literally getting some new red zones quite much in, what's it called? In a few days, right? We're getting the new Goku story red zone, and we're getting the Vegeta story red zone as well later on. Yeah, I think, I mean, if he had the guaranteed guard, bro, and maybe even a little bit of reduction, he would 100% be even in this S tier. He does pretty decent damage for a free-to-play character on top of that. And I don't know, man, he's giving key, right, to all allies, and then super class allies get the support. He's like these other Super EZAs, just touching a lot of different bases. But man, it's the consistency. He's almost there, even with the stats and everything. If he doesn't guard, it's not the end of the world, but it would be really, really helpful for him to get that guard ability. Slot 2 is his main slot, which is fine with me for a free-to-play character. I'm not expecting them to be a slot 1 character. I think they designed him pretty nicely. I like him. Next, we have Ultimate Gohan, which I also would say is an S tier character. I think I skipped TEQ Beerus, actually. I'll talk about TEQ Beerus next. I think he is just very easy to use, right? He auto super attacks. He just wants to be ran on a super class team, which that's not difficult at all to just, oh no, we have to put him on a super class team with super class characters. Oh no, right? Not a big deal. I think that they designed him well. He has 70% dodge when he fully builds up with the guard ability. He just has to be a floater character, but again, he's supporting up to 58% stats if there's an extreme class enemy. And hey, we're getting more of those right now, so that's going to be very useful very soon. And even when he came out, when there's a lot of super class enemies specifically, still giving that support is nice. I think the one thing maybe they could have changed about this character is maybe, what would I do for this character really? His build up feels in the shorter events a little slow, and it could be a little bit of an issue, but who cares? Doesn't really matter. Could his stats be higher? Sure, but he's a support character. I think his value, I would choose to run him over these other characters. then in my opinion, TEQ Beerus is up there. Compared to the other Super EZAs, he's definitely the best one we have. I don't think there's really an argument for other characters Super EZAs. And he's just doing so much, right? He's pretty much just tankier than every single one of these other characters at a more consistent rate. His support is definitely not as good as like Kid Buu or anything, but he also has the rage mode, which allows him to just like cancel the boss super attacks, which none of these other characters have a mechanic like that. None of these like upcoming Super EZAs will have a team protector mechanic like this. So this Super EZA TEQ Beerus, you know, is going to be very fine on a lot of really good teams right now. And furthermore, on top of that, even when it comes to becoming eventually slot 3, he will phase very well into that role. You know, STR Broly will do decent in that role. Into Ultimate Gohan, I think, will do good. Like, Frieza is a character where I'm like, yeah, eventually this guy could be pushed down a lot easier. But these other Super EZAs actually could end up doing pretty fine. But I mean, yeah, again, I had a whole video talking about TEQ Beerus and, you know, the community's thoughts on them not too long ago. So we're just going to keep it like this. I don't know. Something like this is fine. I honestly think they did a good job with most of the Super EZAs during the year. Early on, like I said, some of these characters were definitely more balanced towards the current content there. And that's why, obviously, you know, these characters post-worldwide are going to be better. Duh. The only character I think they really failed is this physical Goku Black. I mean, even then, you could put him in like B tier. I guess I'll be fair to him because he wasn't like when Super Bots was at its peak, he definitely wasn't runnable there. I just think that he was very easily able to be caught. So that's the main issue with that character. But I think that things off. We'll go ahead and look at some of these replies here. Let's see what some of the people are thinking about Super EZAs and the introduction. I think it's going to be probably more positive than negative, but let's look at the quotes and then we'll see some of the replies. Yeah, brings many buffs during celebrations and reduces the amount of dead weeks. Continuously buffs our box. Gigantic win. Amazing concept and execution. Now they get to give both bad teams that don't have a lot of runnable characters or just as an EZ that was handled badly. Don't head back in the 3rd and 4th anniversary EZAs or Super EZAs or in Transform Goku Black. I think this guy will not happen for a very long time, but yeah, the 3rd and 4th anniversary for sure. Red stones are worth something now. Yeah, I think that's one good thing. Redstones before were kind of just whatever, but now, especially for newer players, these redstones are going to be very important. They give like 3 redstones per celebration now, like these like major like anniversary worldwide celebrations. So I think that's really cool. Hopefully they update the wish strips during Tanabata and actually have some of these old characters there. I don't see the point in not doing that, honestly. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. Poor physical Goku Black, bro. All right, I'm screwed. I'm putting them C. It doesn't actually matter, but like, yeah, they mainly suck. I don't know. I think they're fine. Like for what they were, especially like in terms of retrospective on release. In terms of now, I'm not going on to run any of these characters at all. So like you could say right now, the 5 of the 9 do pretty much suck right now, quote unquote. Well, as you can get away with them, they're not consistent. I think this guy on the Super Saiyan Trio team again, though, could be decent. These are the characters I'll feel comfortable running, and even then, STR Broly in shorter events. But besides that, I still feel comfortable running them compared to other characters. Very well handled, no complaints. Almost an A, but AGL Blue Cow can should ease Super EZA during Tanabata. That character will be interesting. I wonder what they're gonna do with him. We'll see. Very rough start with every Super EZA being awful or undertuned, but post-worldwide really stepped up the level they're making them. And yeah, I think that is just true in general too. Like these characters, just design-wise, feel. I mean, again, like I said, they're gonna be stronger stat-wise, but just in terms of their design and what they're doing, kind of blends in with their role better than this, because like this guy is a floater support that wants to get hit. This character, you know, with the key restriction could be a little odd. I think this guy actually does well, but he again would ideally be more of a floater rather than a slot 1 character. And this character, he has defensive mechanics. He has no defensive mechanics, wants to get hit like 15 times. That's what I mean, right? I was like, this character, yeah, Physical Super EZA would be mostly fixed if you had guard unconditionally. Yeah. If they gave him guard, I would probably put him at least here. Just cause, like, at least he won't instantly get nuked by like 200k normals. Just a defensive mechanic would be nice, but that's it. That is my thoughts. I'd probably just end the video here. Not really much else to say. I think overall, just wanted to give my thoughts on these 2025 Super EZAs and how I feel. Hopefully, a lot of their designs are closer to these 4 range of characters, especially, you know, if they want to make more Tech Beerus EZAs, like, we'll definitely take it. But again, the thing about this guy is that he had the built-in ability to protect the rotation, and there's not going to be characters anytime soon that will have that ability. I mean, some of the upcoming Super EZAs that are like next in line, quote unquote, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, he's a slot 1 tank, but he's not like team protecting. Same thing with Janemba, I could see them making him a slot 1 tank, but is he team protecting? No. STR Gogeta could be a really good damage dealer potentially. TEQ Frieza, another tank. There's a lot of villain tanks actually upcoming with Janemba, TEQ Gogeta, or not TEQ Gogeta, TEQ Golden Frieza, really cool. Ejo Super Vegito, Ejo Blue Kaioken, like a lot of really exciting characters. So we'll see what happens, but let me know what y'all think. Thanks y'all for watching, of course, and I'll catch you all next time.